Welcome back to my channel. I'm Nico Anna Jean. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to talk about something that I think is really important, which is to understand that you don't have to have been in a relationship with a narcissist in order to have narcissistic trauma or to be negatively affected by the entity of narcissism. And here's an example of why I'm saying this today. I had a client who realized that they were in a relationship with someone who wasn't a narcissist, but was having a lot of really unhealthy, toxic behaviors that were similar to narcissistic behaviors. And this is something that you could also consider to be what psychologists call narcissistic injury. Now, she believed that perhaps this person had narcissistic parents, had a narcissistic family system. However, she was not actually narcissistic in a pathological way. But unfortunately, there were so many toxic behaviors that were the result of trauma that then it created a situation in this client's relationship that was just really unhealthy and untenable for her. And so I guess it made me realize more and more so, not that I don't already know this, but I realized how pervasive narcissistic trauma is because the fact that it has a ripple effect on everyone. So a family system that's narcissistic produces people who they move out of that system and they've got that trauma, and then they move into relationships with other people and they interact with other people and they get into those relationships, and then that trauma passes from their family into that relationship through that person. So it doesn't have to be a direct connection with a narcissist in order to receive the trauma. So I just wanted to say that, I know that there's a lot of stuff out there online, and it's kind of, I feel like it's a little bit glorified, and maybe sometimes it's a little bit glamorized, you know what I'm saying, or sensationalized about narcissism. And there's a lot of focus on, is someone a narcissist? Is someone a narcissist? How can you tell? And I mean, I've got a quiz on my website about how to tell if you have narcissistic trauma and how to be able to kind of identify if an individual in your life is a narcissist. I feel like that's really, really important. But I also feel like it's equally important to understand that the entity of narcissism is pervasive and just moves through all the systems in our world. So what do we do about it? Something that I think is the most important piece of information that you can have is just the idea of staying sovereign. Sovereignty is just paramount, because sovereignty means that you are not dependent on a system, whether that's another person or it's a family or it's a company or it's a government or any organization. I know that sounds really radical, but it's true, because if you think about what happens when people are dependent on systems, and then when those systems become unhealthy and toxic and break down or no longer serve the individual that's depending on them and are self-serving, does that sound familiar? Then everything really goes badly, for everyone. And so if you can just take an attitude in your life and do the best you can to stay sovereign spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, then you can protect yourself from the pervasive energy of narcissism because of the fact that, if you don't feel like you're depending on someone or something to be okay, to be safe, and you're self-reliant, and you're resourced within yourself, then you're not going to be susceptible to be having your boundaries crossed or giving in or capitulating to something or someone, that's trying to control you for their own self-serving purpose. You're going to be a lot less likely to get into unhealthy dynamics in relationships. It's going to be a lot easier for you to walk away from things that aren't healthy and to be able to speak your own needs and be comfortable in your own skin. So, and how do you do that? Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that takes time. You have to work on it, like one structure at a time. And, Reverend Michael Beckwith, who does the Life Visioning Mastery, he talks about those 4 pillars of your life that really all have to be stable in order to really have abundance coming in. And those pillars are the physical like your body, your health. There's financial, there's the mental, emotional, and the spiritual. Those are the 4 pillars in the system. And so I think you can just start with one of those pillars. I mean, don't try to take them all on at once necessarily, but if you start with the one, and if you're on this channel, that's probably going to be, mental, emotional, the relationship part. But it all overlaps because that is also connected to your physical health. Because if you're in a very unhealthy, toxic, narcissistic relationship, you probably have some chronic health issues or stress, symptoms of stress. It also is tied to your financial life, because if you're in an unhealthy narcissistic relationship or you have narcissistic trauma, you're probably blocking your flow of money and abundance. And then you're probably also not allowing yourself to connect to your spiritual life as much as you'd like to. You might not necessarily feel safe. If you feel like you have to tiptoe around on eggshells around people who are narcissists and not share your true, authentic self, your views, what it is that you love and you embrace in your life, because it challenges them and makes them feel uncomfortable and threatened, then you're probably not fully embracing your spiritual life. But if you can just start with one of those pillars and you can become sovereign in one of those pillars, I believe that it will start to ripple into the rest of those pillars, and you can kind of take them on one at a time. And then it all just starts to work together and it all lines up. And then when you get those 4 pillars really solid and stable, you're going to be more sovereign than you ever have been. And your life is going to be so much better. So listen here, peoples. If you're here and you're a transformation professional, you're a coach, you're a helping professional, you're a healing professional, or your work helps people transform in any way. I just heard somebody say this the other day, that the word transformation is like the word trans actually is the root of the word like bridge. So if you think about that, it's like transformation means like a bridge from one form to another. So if your work helps people move from one form to another, if you create a bridge for them to go from one form to another, you're a transformation professional. And if that's the case, then I want to invite you to consider joining the Heartshine EFT Mastermind, where transformation professionals come to unleash their potential, meaning like it's in there already, and you just unleash it for peace, purpose, and prosperity. All 3. You deserve all 3 by releasing narcissistic trauma and healing your inner child with reparenting. That's what we do. That is what we do. The work is so deep. It's so incredible. It's so profound. And if you want to learn more, please do check out below in the description the page where you can learn more about the community. We'd love to see you there. I hope this was helpful for you. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and we'll talk to you next time. May you be at ease and know joy.